YouTube, what's going on? HeirofCarthage back in the Itza campaign. I do believe this should be the final episode, just based on the fact that we are 5 turns from completing the final ritual. There's only a few Skaven left. We've screwed over the Dark Elves. The High Elves. They're not going to be able to finish the ritual in time. Lothern remains securely in our hold, and it's going to prevent them from being able to win. And really, we just got to clean up a few Skaven and then start some resettlement. I think there's some still to the south of me here, though. But, you know, owning all that territory, not necessarily required for victory, though I will try to, right? I will try to. Anyway, yeah, so we're back. I just have a couple of small tasks to take care of, I think, before we get into the turn-end season here. 5% all regions is province. I'm trying to remember what we were building in most of these. Probably something like the... Or, wait. Temple of Kara. Okay, there's no special buildings in Temple of Kara. Alright, that should work for now. I think I've made all the moves that I could make on this turn. That was where I ended the last video, so we need to end the turn and then start to prepare for the end. Actually, it looks like we have movement here, but I'm going to stay where I'm at regardless. Just let some replenishment happen. Well, the Skaven aren't done with me yet. They've got more of my settlements to wreck. None of these are tied to the ritual, though. Yeah, they're too far south to impact the rituals. So, for the time being at least, we are rather safe. Move forward. We do need to stop the Skaven at Guacamole Crater. I still swear that sounds like guacamole. That may be a joke, like that's intentional, as far as I know. I don't know how these lizard naming conventions work. Really? Did they just abandon the Golden Colossus? Oh, well, we don't really have great troops for this either. I think I'm trying to lure some of their armies back. Just continue the siege. Time's on my side here. I'm not really worried about any of the settlements that we've lost. It's not going to prevent me from obtaining victory. Where's my other armies, by the way? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Kind of wasting one chasing Scalpache. He offered a peace agreement during the turn-in, but I didn't take it. I don't know if I'm like really that upset over that. Puppets of Chaos. These guys are probably going after the High Elves. The High Elves are still toast, though, and this is their last chance, so they're about to be thwarted. And that is going to be the end of that. Let's get some replenishment back in there. Take care of some of these abilities. Jungle Toxins, Immortality, Protection of the Old One, Bottomless Quiver. Here. Alright, well, Vashnar decided to send his troops out to face me on open ground. That will make this winnable for me, albeit it's going to be a tough battle. This is a big-time army here. They've got a dragon, a couple of Chaos Knights with lances, and a bunch of Chosen. Like, a bunch. This is not going to be easy. Well, folks, I misread the battle at the initial screen. Gustav the Great Croc is going to have a heck of a time on his hands in trying to face down Vashnar's armies here. There are considerably more Chosen and other very powerful Chaos units on the battlefield here, and I do have a lot of anti-infantry type units like the Croc himself, some Stegodons, and other leaders, so I do have some anti-infantry tools, but my red-crested skinks, without being led by Tehenowen, are way, way out of their league up against this type of Chaos infantry. The only good thing here is that the initial couple of units from Chaos and the small army that was nearby are going to be singled out and allow me a chance to get some tremendous damage in. I'm going to drop some Fire Leech Bolas and then take a crap all over their lord, try and pin him down with the Colossedon Hunters, and then smash him with my Skink Chief. So doing whatever I can to just get some cheap freebies early on in this battle before all the reinforcements arrive. And folks, reinforcements are arriving. Over here, you can see there's a Reaper Bolt Thrower, a bunch of Knights with Lances, and then there's even some Dark Shards back there supporting. And on this side, a Black Dragon, along with a ton of Chosen, more Knights with Lances, and several units of Dark Shards with shields. So, oh man, I got my work cut out for me over here. So after the initial cleanup of these few troops, I have to fall back and try and take a better position. This is going to end up being an insanely difficult fight. The AI starts to lead with their knights with lances and gives Gustav an opportunity to take action. My army's getting the stupid turnaround bug here where they all cross paths and get all bunched up. I like it when the AI does that because I can use it against him with big vortex spells. Let's take a look at this. Chaos Knights with lances, 2 more Knights with lances, Cold One Dread Knights, Cold One Knights, Chaos Knights, Cold One Chariot. Yeah, I mean, so there is a significant amount of cavalry headed my way, and we are slowly being descended upon by a lot of Chosen. Now, fortunately for me, again, the cavalry is getting ahead of itself and leaving behind much of the infantry support. If we got attacked all at once, there's very little that I could do about this. I am a little bit late in reacting with the skink packs here, but I use it as kind of bait for the Colossedon Hunters to get a free rear charge on these Knights with Lances. And the Colossedon Hunters are using their Toad Rage here, and they're going to be ripping a gaping hole straight through those Knights with Lances. And then over here, I'm going to feed the Knights with Lances a bunch of big armored targets, which they honestly don't really excel at fighting, and I'm going to use my monsters to break the charge of the Chaos Knights everywhere I can. Otherwise, they will pretty much KO all of my skinks before the battle even starts. I've got to get my hunting packs back behind the lines, and you can see here that Gustav and all the other large tanky units like some Sacred Croxigors, everything I can use to hold back the onslaught is going to have to be used, and then the Black Dragon decides to land right in the middle of all of it too. And Gustav has a fight on his hands. He's got several units. Now that the charges have been stopped, I can reinforce with the skinks and start trying to cut through this cavalry early. That way at least all I'll have to face later is infantry for the most part. I am trying to get my hunting packs to the flank, but it's becoming difficult. I'm going to use some Feral Cold One summon here to intercept. Right here I did end up taking a charge from Cold One Dread Knights, and Dread Knights will just crap all over red-crested skinks for days. Fortunately though, the Black Dragon is meeting his match in melee, and then Gustav and his skink chief here are able to cut their way through some Knights with Lances in the middle. And as I'm able to defeat the Knights, I'm going to regroup and put my skinks behind my large units for the initial charge with the main forces of Vashnar. I did put a Chain Lightning over here to just try and do a little bit of damage and disrupt the onslaught that the rogue army is bringing. You can see that we did manage to drive off most of their cavalry, but now the bigger fight is going to ensue. The balance of power is actually not as bad as I thought it would be here. Not as bad as I thought it would be. I can use these Feral Cold Ones to intercept another charge from the Chaos Knights. So you can see I have all of my Croxigors, Sacred Croxies, and monsters up front, and then skinks behind, Colossedon Hunters kind of just waiting up in the air. I did manage to get a good comet off here on the Dark Shards, and it caused tremendous damage because the AI was foolish enough to blob, and I'm using the Fire Leech Bolas to chase down the Black Dragon. So let's get this final fight started here, folks. This is going to be a whole bunch of Chaos Chosen facing off against Sacred Croxigors, Stegodons. This is going to be a very, very brutal fight of extremely heavily armed elite infantry. You can see back here my hunting packs ripping through some regrouped knights. And it is going to be a brutal fight. Curse of the Midnight Wind is going to be used in the middle in order to drag down the performance of all these Chosen with halberds that are around my monsters. My monsters have already taken some damage, and you can see that I was able to use a Wind Blast to clean up even more Dark Shards, but there's still a serious problem with Dark Shards. They have almost destroyed my Colossedon Hunters. I thought I could get a quick attack in, but then just started taking way more damage than I could handle, and Gustav finds himself in one of the most desperate fights that he's ever been in. Fortunately for me, like this flank over here, my left flank is cleaning up decent. My right flank is really struggling, and these regrouped groups of near unbreakable cavalry are becoming extremely annoying because they're just enough to tie down my hunting packs who really need to be shooting apart these Chosen with great weapons, but we're struggling to get there. Now, the Chaos Lord leading the fight has been KO'd, and fortunately for me, Gustav is just laying down, beating after beating in the middle. He is a very tough customer, deals a ton of damage. I am able to get through here with some Feral Cold Ones that summoned and put an end to some of the Dark Shards, so this is a huge play for me, finally getting these Dark Shards out because they were causing tremendous damage. And after wrapping up the left flank, I'm now transferring into the fight in the middle. And you can see my Sacred Croxies and the Skink Priest here rolling in order to try and terrorize the Chosen. My right flank is mostly collapsed, but I have a few units still hanging on, and we had some Chosen with halberds trying to get to my hunting packs, though I'm not going to allow that. I'm going to start hitting them from behind with the Amaxon Barbs and the Umbral Tide. I believe those are the 2 units I have in this. And we start to drive back the Chaos Infantry and finally get a contagious rout. And this was a brutal battle, probably one of the toughest ones that I've played in the campaign. We were fortunate here and able to work out a few things and make it happen. Wow, that was a lot bigger battle than I had noticed, because I think I was just looking up here and forgot to scroll down. So we are pretty happy to be out of that one with a victory, to be honest. Yeah, we got trouble headed our way too, because his main force was nearby, so I'm not even sure we have enough troops to finish that fight. Guacamole Crater's gonna get hit, and it says we're gonna lose, but I actually feel like that this is winnable, so I'm gonna fight it and see what we can do. Alright, the Battle of Guacamole Crater, I'll just call it that for fun for now, is starting off. Fortunately, we have some significant towers in our favor. Skaven do have a Plague Claw catapult, but yeah, my towers are firing like what looks like solar engines into the Skaven, and the Skaven army is not that powerful here. I don't know what kind of warp stone that the auto-resolve was smoking, but they were definitely on something. I've got my skinks with javelins manning the walls. They're going to cause initial damage to the Skaven, and then I'm actually just going to sally out. I've got a substantial cavalry and monster force, and I don't think the Skaven can really handle it. They're going to try and hit me with some wind attacks here, but nothing that's going to be able to stop what's coming after them. So the Skaven skirmishers will be annoying. Some of them are gutter runners. They're going to be very difficult to catch. And then, of course, my units are trying to get through the gates, which takes some time, but there's heavy fire coming from the towers, and then the javelin support from the skinks will be quite substantial. So now the Skaven are going to find themselves on the run, being pushed by a huge pack of angry monsters sallying out of the gates. Over here, I got hit by some death runners and gutter runners that I couldn't see on their way to the wall because of their ability to stalk, and so the Skaven leader, Gracie, are here, and some of his units made it to the walls, so I've sent some Temple Guard to reinforce the walls. I don't think the Skaven will be able to cut through it, and ultimately I'll be able to send even more reinforcements their way. Meanwhile, my Kroxigors have started to catch and destroy the skirmishers, these warp fire throwers and other units here. There are some storm vermin who have yet to drop their equipment and come attack me as needed. So I've sent some more Temple Guards sallying out of the gates in order to deal with these units so that my monsters don't get stuck with them. So the Skaven never even making it to the gates in this particular case, and then my cavalry needed a little bit of reinforcement against some units back here, and then way back in the back, I'm still chasing a gutter runner because those guys are so annoying to catch. And then meanwhile on the walls, my Temple Guard are being supported by a skink priest that is dropping some Doom Flock here. Flock of Doom. Always get that one backwards. And the Death Runners are not really successfully cutting through my Temple Guard. Death Runner is decent up against this type of armor, though. And a Temple Guard doesn't, this one in particular, doesn't have really high attack, but it's not something that those units are going to easily be cutting through. You can see they've even had to commit some of their skirmishers up here, because if they left them down here, they were going to die, so the AI actually making a reasonable choice there, but none of these choices are going to really help them a whole lot in the end. You can see my towers have just been relentless on the Skaven, firing away ever since the battle started. And then I've got more Temple Guards heading over and getting into the fight, so the Skaven are going to find themselves getting very well bogged down. Pretty much everything outside the gate is cleaned up, and this becomes really kind of the last fight up here. See my Scar veteran up here fighting this, and then more Temple Guardsmen being sent up, and I've got the stones here to keep the Skaven accuracy down as well. What do you call it? Stella, Holy Stella, whatever that is, that ability. So here comes the Temple Guardsman materializing on the wall, but hey, whatever works. I like the idea of teleporting Temple Guard. Sounds fine to me. So the Skaven are going to find themselves completely and utterly overmatched, and with the support of my leaders, they really have no chance. It's not an overcast Flock of Doom, but it's still Flock of Doom, and it's eating away their hit points. And they just really can't cut through me over here. And then whatever survived outside the gates is being chased and then shot by towers. So the Skaven are really not having a good time of this, and gutter runners, as much as they can be OP at times in campaign, really will not do well on a fight on the walls up against Temple Guard. These Saurus are definitely way too tough of a customer for even like AI type OP gutter runners. Look at that, 34 attack, 34 defense. I mean, it's really not bad stats. You can see here that the Temple Guard not too far off. It's just the weapon strength being the main difference between these two. The Temple Guards have significantly more weapon strength, and it's armor piercing. Not that that would matter against a gutter runner. Not very much, at least. I'm going to start bringing all the dinos over here too, and the leadership of the Skaven crumbles, and this fight is over. Well, Guacamole Crater is quite safe. Let's see what we can do to keep finishing up. So Lothern failed, and they have to try and reprogress, which means that they're done, basically. Because I'm only 3 turns away. I can't do anything about these Chaos troops that are here. But basically we can just camp out here and make sure there's no possible way for the High Elves to retake what I've taken from them. Let's finish off the Skaven army here. Get rid of them. Go start to resettle what belongs to us here. I don't think there's any reason to... Let's give these guys a peace treaty so I don't have to chase them anymore. And then let's come back down here and start resettling some of this territory. I think there's still some Skaven this way. I'm going to kind of head this way towards the Hissing God, see if we can head them off. Kind of heading through both directions. So we'll push through and find what's left of the unknown Skaven clan. Vashnar was headed back towards us here. And that's a little bit troublesome. There's an easy auto-resolve here. If it doesn't kill any of my troops, it'd be really nice. But you never know how these auto-resolves go. It just took away 1 red-crested skink, so I can deal with that. I'll be replenishing very quickly, and then that puts Vashnar. I think he's in an ambush out here somewhere. I've got blessed units that we can throw into this army just to replenish our ranks quickly. So I'm going to do that, even though I know it doesn't quite match the theme of this army, but it's more so just for his protection. Stylodons, Jungle Temple. Let's get these characters some of the abilities that they need. Let's go with Arcane Vessel. Missile resistance. And then let's see about maybe merging some of these units of red-crested skinks. So I can drop another... Yeah, there we go. That'll make this army a little more resilient if we get attacked by Chaos before we're completely replenished, which is very possible. And otherwise, not a whole lot else that we really need to do here. Patchy has leveled up, which is pretty awesome. He's getting close to being able to replenish. He can cause terror now. And then we just got another Skink Chief up here that's gained some skill points, getting close to having Slippery. And then Digga, our Scar Veteran. This guy is becoming quite the beast here. The Enforcer of Order, I guess. Just give him some extra attack. Looks like we can issue a commandment again here. Let's rebuild what we need to. And that should do. Alright, we were attacked by Treyr and GOR-ROK at the Citadel of Dusk, but it was just an auto-resolve battle, so we've defeated them. And that is the end of the unknown Skaven clan, so that means I can grab these settlements before anybody else decides to do so. So let's go ahead and grab the Hissing God, recolonize our territory here. Ah, man, I don't even know if it's worth it to drop stuff at the Shrine of Assyrian here. defense there. Alright. Get a Stegodon now, that'll be pretty helpful. Okay. Just in our defensive position, getting ready to roll into the final battle. Before we do the final battle, I need to perform this right here. Hopefully it carries in to the final battle for me. Alright, so down to the south here, Vashnar ran away. Shows you how powerful he is when given the opportunity to fight. He runs. So we're going to chase him, hunt him down, and destroy him, like the filthy chaos scum that he is. And then I'm going to try and resettle what was taken from me here. So, yeah, I think we are able to force march a little here. Let's get up closer. Once again, nothing really to see or do here in any particular interest. It's just time to end some turns and wait for the final battle, which I'm very excited for. It's been a long time coming. I think it goes down to 0, so I'm gonna save here just in case it doesn't. That way I can use my right before the final battle, but I'm pretty sure it does. Final battle is on, and the Skaven Greyseer is trying to hold his position. He's got a nice high position here, but he's making an all too common AI mistake. And you're going to see a theme in this battle, and don't get me wrong, this battle is going to be a lot of fun. You can see the Great Horned Rat and the Vortex and everything going on here, so the ambiance is absolutely amazing. But something that CA needs to work on in this final battle is how the AI uses the terrain. And you can see them kind of blobbing around this terrain in order to try and come attack me. And blobbing is about the worst thing in the world they can do up against the army that I have here. And I think you all know why. It's because Croak is here. Now, I had some Presence Vanguard deployed for the Skaven. This is going to be my Papa Pot cohort and my Poha Sentinels. And you're going to see here a huge blast. And basically the entire first Skaven army gets wiped out in one blast by Lord Croak because they all blobbed in one place against units that they couldn't possibly hope to overcome. So just like that, the initial opening of the final battle, Kroq-Gar barely even has, or sorry, not Kroq-Gar, GOR-ROK barely even has to lift a finger. You can see back here my Chameleon Skinks cause tremendous damage, and they're going to easily rip through all of the Skaven skirmishers. Going to send in the Poha Sentinels, the Papa Pot cohort, just pin these guys down and finish them, and then the Chameleon Skinks will clean up any of the other units running around. So the Skaven get absolutely wrapped up almost immediately in the fight, almost immediately. It's at this point, which the narration doesn't come through in the replay, that the announcer and the rat are doing all their talking and trash talking, and Tyrion's armies start to come onto the battlefield. And it's going to be another slightly strange situation where, like, part of his army comes on, and then very, very slowly the rest of his army comes on. I feel like this is something that I would love to see patched from Creative Assembly, where these units come on and move a lot faster, a lot more well-coordinated, and a lot more whole, because then it will make this battle considerably more challenging. I remember playing this earlier on in the release of the game, and I don't remember it being like this, but you can see they're kind of just moving forward very slowly. Gives me plenty of time to regroup, but this all could be because I smashed the Skaven army so fast. It may not have been to be narrated like this, right? You may have been fighting the Skaven, and then suddenly they the other forces kind of appear more quickly. You can see here comes the rest of Tyrion's army, and Tyrion is going to be an absolute beast in this battle. Look at his stats. 80 attack, 85 defense. He is every bit a match for GOR-ROK on this battlefield, so he is going to be a tank and a half. Now, I have gotten some special abilities granted by taking control of the Vortex. There's one that is a blast and another that heals, and those two abilities can be used every 30 seconds or so. And so with the AI kind of being slow and blobbing, they're just going to fall even more victim to my ability to use those. I mean, don't get me wrong, GOR-ROK's army is strong enough to take all these guys as it is, but give me those special abilities and Croak, and it's gonna get nuts real fast. You all want to see what Croak did in that first blast too. He got 236 kills. in just one blast of the Deliverance of Itza. So I decided to give a minute and see what this AI army would do, so I could try and get it to set up and give me a challenge. But again, they're not navigating this terrain very well, and they're kind of coming up right through into a choke point here. Instead of trying to spread out a little, the AI is kind of taking like the path of least resistance, which ends up blobbing them here. This is one way you can take advantage of them in campaign to get them to do this type of thing. And of course, I've got the Shredder and the Thunderous One, and GOR-ROK and Croak just waiting on all this cavalry here, and we'll just smash it as it comes pouring into the choke point. You're going to see that here, Silver Helms. There's Dragon Princes behind them, but none of these units really going to be capable of pulling apart GOR-ROK. I'm letting GOR-ROK 1v1 some of these units just to prove his prowess. And I definitely want him to end up fighting Tyrion, even though Tyrion will be a true and proper challenge here. I'm going to give GOR-ROK some cavalry for breakfast to get things started. There are some archers out here I'm going to have to deal with. They've taken position on my flank. You can hear the Horned Rat mouthing off in the background. You see the Sun Fang there from Tyrion. And so now Tyrion and GOR-ROK get a proper fight started. And I'll show you all how that's going. Tyrion actually comes in and starts to lay a spank down on GOR-ROK. Look at that. He's got GOR, and GOR-ROK is crazy strong, but Tyrion is every bit as strong. Look at that melee defense. He's a deadly onslaught, feint, and repulse there. I mean, just Tyrion, if I didn't have this extra healing and stuff, he would totally rip GOR-ROK apart right here. So this is a pretty cool representation in the final battle of a challenge you got to overcome. You all have seen just how strong GOR-ROK is. Nobody could touch him. In fact, he 1v1'd an entire army at one point, but here comes Tyrion, and he is putting a beating on him. GOR-ROK is going to need some support, so I've sent some support up. I've got some infantry on the way, and the final battle really becomes a good slugfest here. I've used the healing ability to keep GOR-ROK going, and I really want him to 1v1 Tyrion. See the special ability helping me to bust through these Phoenix Guard. I really don't want the Phoenix Guard in this fight for too long. And you can see we ripped them apart relatively quick. We got the Moon Dragon up there, putting a breath attack on Croak, but at the same time the Moon Dragon gets shredded by my Chameleon Skinks. And the, what do you call it, the Poha Sentinels. You can see a Fiery Convocation here, but it misses my troops. So a bit of a miscast by the High Mage. And at this point, Tyrion is still rocking this fight, and he has taken so many hit points off GOR-ROK that his healing cap is starting to come into play. So we just have to hit Tyrion with everything we've got here. And I'm dropping more healing in on my units. And Tyrion proves to be quite a contender here in this final battle in front of the Vortex, which, hey, that's what I would expect. I wouldn't expect the High Elves to be giving up this Vortex without an impressive fight, and while the rest of their troops weren't so impressive, Tyrion gains my respect in this battle. Gained some serious respect. That dude came in and put a beating on one of the toughest lords that I have ever had in a campaign. So at this point, Malekith gets announced, and his troops again start to slowly funnel onto the battlefield, and because of the position I've taken on top of the hill, these troops are coming through bottlenecks and making the battle very easy. If you're looking to kind of min-max your performance against them, then that is how you'll want to play this battle, is take these positions. The AI can't navigate this stuff very well. If you want a more challenging battle, you could deploy out here and allow the AI to fight you in a single line where they have a much better chance, and this would give you a bigger challenge fighting out here. But like I said, just kind of depends on what you want to do. I am going to fast forward for a second because we're just waiting on all of Malekith's troops to come onto the battlefield. Again, the troops come on in pieces. It could be because enough have to get off the battlefield to allow the next ones in, but again, you can see these troops come in basically wholly unsupported, so definitely disagree with the way this is scripted, or at least the way it's working at the moment. But that's just because I really am relishing a big challenge right now. But these guys just aren't going to bring it. I'm going to use Croak and my other ability to just rip apart these incoming Dark Elf reinforcements, and you can see that most of them are dropped before they even can reach combat. So this is why I would rather see the AI reinforcements come in scripted together in a much more coherent fashion, because they're already going to be having to battle all their lives against my army. And they certainly don't want to be spread out like this, giving me the opportunity to pick them apart. Now Malekith has come. He is on Seraphon, and then he's got another Black Dragon, and a War Hydra, and some Cold One Dread Knights. There are some Executioners and Blackguard in this army as well, so it's going to be a significant force. But, ooh, got some Horned Rat in the distance here. But he's going to have to fight me again in this bottlenecked situation, so I'll let you all kind of see how this plays out. Let's get his troops up here. They're moving a little slow. You can see that right here, the AI can't even really navigate this choke point. See, some of them are splitting. They kind of want to come around here. They kind of want to go this way. They're really struggling to even navigate the terrain on this map because of the position I've taken, so would love to see Creative Assembly address this in a patch and come up with better scripting for how the AI might handle the terrain. I mean, granted, I have a choke point. They're going to have to attack in a choke point, but the least they could do is, like, make a coherent attack through that choke point. So I'm not asking for the world there, but like right here where they split, just makes my job easier. Some of their elite infantry was up here, some executioners. I hit them with that special ability that was given to me by the Vortex. And then Malekith is going to send his Black Dragon after Kroak, but I should be able to support that. In fact, he's going to send almost everything after Kroak. Malekith himself thinks it's smart to land in my back lines, but really underestimates the damage that my Chameleon Skinks and Poha Sentinels can dish. And then I've sent GOR-ROK over to hit him as well. And so Malekith is going to be in a world of hurt really quickly, despite, again, being a very tough customer. And despite Tyrion doing a lot of his work for him, he just won't have a prayer. He gets shredded by GOR-ROK and these support troops there. Now, meanwhile, Kroak took a bit of a savaging for a moment from some Dread Knights and a Dragon, but then was able to pull back, and some support was sent in. You see the Shredder and the Thunderous One proving who the real monsters are in this game, and it is not this Black Dragon and the War Hydra. The real monsters are with me. See Malekith doing everything he can. He's trying to get off the ground, but I summoned some Feral Cold Ones, and I refuse to let him back in the air. He's going to have to take the fight against GOR-ROK, and it is not going to be a fight that he enjoys. We've got a Dark Sorceress, and the last of the Dark Elves are really piling in here, and they're going to be delivered by Kroak. So another huge blast. And then what's really left here is just some of their monsters, but the leadership's going to be falling apart. They've got no support from their infantry, and they're getting absolutely crapped on by Temple Guard and Kroak, Thunderous One. Let's see, Malekith is gone. His Black Dragon sustained heavy damage and now has to come back and try and take GOR-ROK, but GOR-ROK starts to kick the crap out of it too. And Malekith's army is going to rest in pepperonis. At this point, the Grey Seer sends a final army to help free their Horned God. This one actually deploys in a much more sensible fashion, and in order to make this interesting, I'm going to deploy out of my choke points and come fight these guys on open ground and look for a quick knockout. They have a Doom Wheel, they have a Hell Pit Abomination, some Plague Monk Censer Bearers, some Storm Vermin with Halberds, Rat Ogres, so they've got a more significant force. They also have some Death Runners, and they've spread out in a line where they're not entirely blobbed, and then I have come down off of the high ground. That's right, we had the high ground. You know how Obi-Wan says. Some of their Storm Vermin immediately buy the farm with my newfound Vortex abilities, and I'm going to continue to punish these guys all the way into fighting. See, I'm healing the Shredder, and he has a ton of hit points that we can heal into him. So we are ready to really put a big fight here into this one, so definitely looking forward to this. It's going to be a good one. Gonna be a good one. Skaven trying whatever puny abilities they can. I've got some Chameleon Skinks up front, kind of unleashing a bit of skirmishing, but I'm going to run a full-fledged infantry attack, and my Saros Warriors, remember right now, are unbreakable and have all kinds of extra stats. And then I'm going to see this blob here, and Kroak is going to deliver it. Deliver them from their suffering. So the Skaven won't have to suffer very much longer. I will be putting them out of their misery as GOR-ROK closes in on the ultimate victory in what has been a really awesome campaign, and we're going to finish it how we started it, which is by killing Skaven on a mass scale. See the Skaven using their warp fire throwers. They are bringing everything they've got, but their army quickly falls apart to the superiority of the troops that I have here. Triple gold chevron, massive buffs. Look at this, 81 defense, 54. I mean, there's just nothing the Skaven could do since that, like, against this type of, like, what is basically a war atrocity with the army I have. They only have a few units left. They're warp fire throwers, and then they were flanking with these death runners. So that's really just the few units they have left. And we'll kind of keep an eye on it. I'm trying to run down their warp fire throwers and some of their other units here. See the Skaven fleeing for the most part. I can't see the death runners, which is why I'm not able to engage them yet. They are a stalk unit. But they do become visible here momentarily, and I'm able to engage them. Some summoned feral cold ones healing going off back here. And then as we see the death runners, I'm able to engage the death runners. Here comes all of my cavalry, vortex ability, shredder of Lustria. These death runners are going to lead an exceptionally short life, even for being Skaven. Yes, even for being Skaven. And there's very little left other than these warp fire throwers back here, which are just unfortunately faster than my troops. I don't know how these guys haven't utterly chain routed. When you look at the power bar up here, I have to admit these are some of the bravest Skaven I've ever seen. I'll give them that credit, but that's probably the only credit that they'll receive from me. There's a few regrouped clan rats and poison wind globadiers, but all these units are now in big trouble because my big critters are getting freed up and will be headed their way to help finish the final battle. Like I said, I'm pretty impressed that these units haven't just already routed, but they will be. They won't stay brave forever. See the Papa Pot cohort ripping through here and delivering the final blows of the final battle. That is going to be a victory. The Vortex now firmly in control of Lord Krok and GOR-ROK, with Itza now ultimately controlling the way and means of keeping chaos from invading, and the plan of the old ones will be enacted. A heroic victory, folks, a heroic victory to finish the campaign. Well, heroic victory seems appropriate for us in the final battle. We barely got touched and took out all of our enemies. I like it. Slan party.
God banished, rat spawn cleansed from sacred shores. The vortex is secure, the matrices of the Great Warden enhanced. But the vortex has new, cold-blooded owners. This was always part of the plan. The mage priests read it in the stars long ago. Now the next stage can begin. Commence the purge.
Aw, flowers. How nice. That'd be victory, folks. That be victory. That's what I'm talking about right there. So hey, thank you to everybody who followed this campaign. It was a lot of fun to play. I loved it, even though it was a lot of time to complete. And thank you for being patient for those who stuck around. I do hope you enjoyed it. And of course, we'll pick something new to do for campaign going forward as well. Hope you all enjoyed this one. HeirofCarthage signing out of the Itza campaign with a victory.